Thank you, Marcia. Excuse me. I was a newspaper man, and I married my editor, Stell Simonton, and she edited this speech. Still editing my work after all these years. Well, Marcia, Madam Secretary's speech, I remember that Stell and I were binging on Madam Secretary, and I can't remember her name, Elizabeth something. Elizabeth, oh, yeah, the Secretary. Anyway, that series got better as it went on, and it was a remarkable speech. And it's pretty much said everything I have to say here today, so thank you for listening, and but I think that speech really should be printed and passed around. Well, it's always an honor to share some thoughts with this distinguished congregation. And with July 4th and, the usual dazzling fireworks and patriotic speeches, exploding all across America, I felt compelled to get something off my chest. A long time ago, when I wore a younger man's clothes, I suddenly felt a pain in my chest. And it wasn't heart trouble, or maybe figuratively it was. It was in the spring of 1970, in a time of turmoil in the United States with all of the protests that were going on, the liberation movements, the Vietnam War, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, the feminist movement. America was experiencing turbulent times. It was a time that the National Guard, shot students at Kent State and Jackson State. We felt terror and discomfort. And I was walking across my college, Defiance College, a Northwest Ohio liberal arts college, and I suddenly had this feeling of vivid tightness in my chest. And I now realize that was the time in my life when I first experienced cognitive dissonance, the knowledge. Knowledge has now created a dissonance in my being, discomfort. My childhood reality, my worldview, was being challenged by new, credible evidence that worldview was not exactly correct. And so I was in great discomfort suddenly. And I had a choice to make, to relieve that discomfort. And that is that I could deny the new evidence and go on with my childhood reality intact, or I could change my reality structure and replace it with a new reality structure, or maybe more accurately, a renovated reality structure. And I'm using this example to address a major problem that I see in our country today, and that is, as I see it, I call it the culture of extreme patriotism. And that is our fellow citizens dehumanizing their political opponents and adversaries and calling us citizens enemies and calling them un-American and unpatriotic. According to my old American Heritage Dictionary that I had on at college, probably, the definition of patriotism is a person who loves, supports, and defends their country. And the word derives from the Greek word patriotes, meaning father country. And when I said this to my wife, Stell, she said there's an absence of Mother Earth in there. The definition of culture is the totality of socially transmitted behavior patterns, arts, beliefs, institutions, and all other products of human work and thought characteristic of a community or population. And I also looked up the definition of a cult, which is obsessive devotion or veneration for a person, principle, or ideal. And I would add that the leader of a cult can do no wrong according to the members of the cult. So, love, support, defend socially transmitted behavior problems, obsessive devotion, or veneration. Let's look at these characteristics. I was raised by a moderately Republican family, a vanishing species, on both sides of my family. My hometown was in Ohio, my father's hometown, and every summer we visited my mother's town, her parents out on a farm just outside of this small village in Iowa. And those towns were a lot like what I'm about to describe, as well as dozens of other towns where I played sports, visited relatives, shopped, dated, swam in municipal pools, and so forth. All of those towns in my growing up were entirely Caucasian, except for a few, Hispanic families and maybe a couple African American families in the county seats. And I was indoctrinated in the culture of patriotism. I was groomed, and there were some good things about it. Most children in those communities were acculturated to value loyalty, dedication, a work ethic, responsibility to community and country, and to contribute to a better society as you are able. And we were taught to love America. And there are many good things about America that we should love. The founders of this nation created a constitution like the world had never seen. Its principles and ideals have been somewhat perfected and somewhat polluted by decisions made through 250 years of discussion and debate by legislators and judges and activists and journalists. And those ideals, although imperfectly implemented, sit on the high ground of human organization, freedom of speech, due process, equal rights, process of law, no state religion, one human, one vote, right of privacy, public welfare, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I once wrote a long poem about our times. And it was entitled Last Days of the Second Millennium. And in that, I address this idea of good things in America, the culture of patriotism. We were Americans, proud of the good works of our people, proud of the blood, sweat, and tears to end slavery for all time, proud of those who languished in prison for the right to speak your mind, proud of our ancestors who fought and perished for the right to worship or not worship your way, proud of the polls on election day with all those senior citizens dutifully checking off the rules, proud of the right to do your thing, be gay, dance, copulate, laugh, pray, or sing. But let me point out what was not so good about that indoctrination by the culture of patriotism. These beliefs we were taught in our schools, in our churches, and in some of our homes. First and foremost is the idea of American exceptionalism. America can do no wrong. America is right in all its wars. America is the world's champion for justice, equality for all. White people are superior to all other races. Men are superior to women. Capitalism, or call it predatory capitalism, is far superior to all other economic systems. The United States is a Christian country, despite what the Constitution says. Christianity is superior to all other religions. If you are gay or lesbian, you are a sinner and you better stay in the closet. There's no need to understand justice through the eyes of the powerless and dispossessed. And the whitewashed history, and the pun is intended, is the real history. And on and on. And those beliefs were reinforced by the symbols, the icons of the culture of patriotism that were part and parcel to that indoctrination. The flag, the Liberty Bell, the bald eagle, the Pledge of Allegiance, the cross, the prayer before high school, Uncle Sam, an old white man. My Cheyenne friend Mitch Walking Elk calls me Uncle Sam's nephew. And there were the songs, the national anthem, America the Beautiful, God Bless America. The principles and beliefs are even reinforced by the culture of mainstream America. The fashions, the fads, consumerism, of course, the God, guns, gold, and glory scattered throughout the culture of the media. That indoctrination, with all its compelling symbolism, united populations of those communities when I was growing up. It was one colossal set of beliefs. It seemed to be anyway, from town to town, coast to coast, and it seemed like everybody who had a television watched I Love Lucy and the Honeymooners and Gunsmoke. And if you didn't embrace those beliefs and the accompanying mainstream culture, then you were un-American or you were not a patriot. And during the turmoil of the 1960s and early 1970s, you saw bumper stickers in those communities that read, America, love it or leave it, my country, right or wrong. We heard if you don't like America, go live in China. And why do you all hate America? And many within that cult of extreme patriotism seem to be insanely angry with their politics of grievance and willing to resort to violence to get their way. They have transformed the culture of patriotism to an extreme obsession, a culture of extreme patriotism. And the values and principles of this extreme culture are not conducive to a sustainable society. There are tens of millions of those citizens and their leaders who suppress voting rights, resist gun regulation, support dirty energy, deny universal health care, support the lies that keep corrupt politicians in power, ban books and promote a fake history, resist efforts to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the land, marginalize women, siphon valuable resources from other companies. They rampantly destroy the resources of Mother Earth. And these positions do not support our country and our planet, but actually will make us more polarized and weaker as a nation. How is that loving and supporting your country? I believe the cause of this serious problem is a centuries of small-minded thinking about what a good citizen is, what patriotism is, and what is good for our country. Consider the American Revolution and put yourself in the shoes of the people of that time and understand that the dedication and loyalty had to be there to cause that breakup of America from England. It was a fierce fighting spirit, the spirit of don't tread on me. And that fighting, kick-ass spirit, us versus them, permeated the culture as whites moved west into indigenous nations and conducted wars and genocide to take away the land and build white communities across the continent. And I don't mean to say that all white people were like that in the 1800s. You know, there were subgroups and so forth. We just don't have time to get into all of the nuances of all of this. But it was a mean-spirited crusade, the crusade of settler colonialism, manifest destiny, of American exceptionalism, Christian superiority, and rampant hubris and self-righteousness. And again, I want to emphasize that everyone was not a part of that movement, but it was a general movement. And the hardened crusade mentality was handed down generation to generation through all the wars and through Jim Crow in that era, and through the angry mob mentality that we see spreading across America today, socially transmitted patterns. And after that time when I felt that tightness in my chest on the college campus, I found myself studying untold history, hidden in libraries, listening to anti-establishment and counterculture types who had a broader view of the world and its diverse populations, people who practice analytical thinking, people who had a vision for a better world, people who today are demonized by the culture of extreme patriotism as the elite and woke. And I made an existential choice to hang around those citizens with open minds and to learn from them, people who believed in sharing, promoting cooperation as a greater force than competition, reading books, not banning them, embracing science, working for true equality for all people, respecting other people's rights, caring for the planet and all of its life, and similar principles, ideals, and beliefs. And so I built my renovated reality structure, and then I realized I was feeling quite outside the mainstream of America. Alienated. It seemed the only decent thing to be was to be alienated. And the culture of extreme patriotism would say I was not a patriot. Well, in that long poem, I included descriptions of several of those alienated misfits that I knew back then. I wanted to read you one. We were Americans. We were the urban Indian who danced like a fluttering fire star, who helped organize the sweat lodge ceremony at General Custer's childhood monument on the centennial of Little Bighorn, then packed up her kids and migrated to Beach Bark country, where she ran a fishing business on Lake Superior and became a sailor on the Great Lakes tankers and could kick the ass of any man who came under her roof with lightning tattooed across his face. She visited the Ojibwa elders to learn the old songs and told the old stories to her papoose and the other powwow children. And she became a reservation lawyer who litigated for tribal harmony and drummed for tribal treaty rights and danced into her old age like the rippling northern lights. We were Americans, and never let their puny preacher patriots deny that. We were Americans. We are Americans. It is time for progressive thinking people to stop letting the culture of extreme patriotism define the terms of the national debate. It is time to shout out to the media at every opportunity that we love the good things of America and we hate the bad things that can destroy America, things that must be changed. It's a love-hate relationship. So what? Deal with it. And never forget that unbridled hate eats away at the soul. We must address the negative, the hate, the exclusionary politics, all the past and current wrongs, but at the same time, we should celebrate the beautiful things, the magnificence of our existence on this planet. Albert Camus wrote in his novel, The Stranger, "Mother used to say that however miserable one is, there's always something to be thankful for. And each morning when the sky brightened and light began to flood my cell, I agreed with her." So imagine progressive citizens sending a message to America in newspaper columns, letters to the editor, magazine articles, podcasts, campaign ads, things like that, saying this in every way possible. It is patriotic to believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, in liberty and justice for all, not just some, because that will make Americans love America and make America strong. It is patriotic to believe in sharing the wealth, because that will make all Americans able to participate in the system and buy the products and industries making the economy stronger than ever. It is patriotic to believe that voting should be easy, not hard, for that is the way of government. By the people, for the people. It is patriotic to believe in freedom of religion, freedom from religion, and separation of church and state, because that is a unique genius of the founders of this country. It is patriotic to advocate for universal health care, because healthy Americans mean a healthy America. It is patriotic to believe in gun regulation, because that will make citizens safer, and that is what government is supposed to do. It is patriotic to believe in holding police and even a former president accountable for their crimes, for that is the way of a nation of laws, not men. It is patriotic to advocate for reparations and restorative justice for indigenous people and descendants of slavery, for healing is essential to a better quality of life for all. It is patriotic to support green, renewable energy, because that will make our existence on Mother Earth stable and sustainable. We were Americans. When I experienced that pain in my chest across that college campus, it was heart trouble. It was a change of heart. It was a leap into a wild place to abandon that childhood structure. Poet Mary Oliver wrote, "Let us risk going to the wildest places, lest we go down in comfort and despair." We all have a stake in America. Let us deal with the good and the bad with rational, existential choices that support our country's stability and sustainability. Let's risk the wild place of reclaiming patriotism. Thank you for listening. And God bless the whole damn world.